Hi, friends. Often people wonder that we are born into this life without having a manual how to live our life. I wish we were all born with a manual. Do this now, do that next, do this after that. Wouldn't it make our life easier? But alas, no manual. So, what can you do to replace that manual in your life? Find a good mentor. So let's dive into this journey today of learning how to nurture, how to build a good mentoring relationship. So grab your cup of coffee like I have done and let's dive into this topic. When I look back into my life, I was born in a family where I had a loving grandfather who used to live with us. And I'm sure many of you have memories of that, especially in India where joint families are common. So for me, the first mentor after, of course, my mom and dad, the real mentor in life was my grandfather. He mentored me through my growing years in a wonderful way. Watching him interact with people, watching him talk to people, deal with various business situations, transactional situations, at times think about how to manage things with his meager resources. All that was a great mentoring. In fact, he never told me this is how I should do. I learned by watching him. That is a great way to have a mentor around you, someone you can look up to. So now let's discuss what are the key pillars of developing a good mentoring relationship. Number one is trust. Trust is the foundation of a relationship between mentor or mentee. In fact, it's perhaps trust is a foundation for every relationship, but definitely for mentor or mentee, because mentee will have to open his heart out in front of mentor if he really wants good advice. So trust is something obviously you can't develop overnight, and you shouldn't give the key to your trust to someone without knowing more about that person. So I would suggest spend more time with a person who is offering to be your mentor or whom you can consider as your mentor, to see whether this person is trustworthy, whether you can really trust him with everything that you require advice on. So foundation of trust, number one thing. Number two thing would be setting clear goals and expectations. Now, it may sound very transactional, business-like, but at least in your mind, you should have some type of expectation or goal. And at some point in time in your relationship, you should spell those out to your mentor. That will ensure you have a healthy relationship. Because not every relationship is meant for everything. You couldn't expect your mentor to tell you recommendation for food. I mean, as a friend, of course, he can, but it shouldn't become like that you're dependent on him for every single decision in your life. Which movie to watch, what food to eat. So, clear goals and expectations would help you also how much dependence you should have on this person. Now, one thing I will share with you, since I spent time in both continents, that in US I have seen it's very common for young folks to have a mentor. I've often seen that I'll be talking to some person, let's say interviewing him or talking to him about something, and he'll say, well, I will refer to my mentor and get back to you. And it's very nice to hear that, because I think, as I said, mentors can replace the need for a manual that God missed to send with us when we were born. Remember that. So I think it is very essential for us to set clear goals. Now, this is a mentor who will help me in setting my professional life in order. That could be a goal and expectation. And professional life could be that, okay, he'll help me with my college, school, afterwards, job and all that. And recently somebody sent me an email asking me whether I can be his mentor in professional growth. And this person is already at the VP level in a very large enterprise. Perhaps he has some struggle in how he manages things around him because he's the first time vice president. So I think he needs someone to give him an outsider's perspective. I'm just giving you some example. So that could be other way that you could take the help of your mentor. So that will be number 2. Number 3 would be have clear lines of communication. Now, a lot of these things that I'm sharing, they also apply to any relationship, but definitely for mentor and mentee. Having clear lines of communication will ensure that he has all the information that he needs to give you the right advice. Suppose you talk to him today and 6 months there is no communication between you two. You have grown in your life, or you have grown up or grown down in your life, and he has no clue about it. He's still thinking about the person with whom he spoke 6 months ago. And now you're asking him for advice on something new. He'll go by the old person, right? Old Tom or old Rakesh. Well, that wouldn't be the right advice, right? So having clear lines of communication, I wouldn't suggest putting weekly call or bi-weekly call. I personally think it to be too onerous on poor guy guy who has agreed to be your mentor. But create means of communication where you can call him, where you can talk to him every time you need some help, right? And make it at least once a month so that communication lines are open and he really understands your mindset and can give you the right advice at the right time. So that is number 3. Number 4 would be take action and be willing to take advice. Around us, especially young people, always find folks who are ready to offer you free advice. Are aisa karo, aisa mat karo, do this way, do that way, do. I mean, people are, whether they have done anything similar that you want to do in your life or not, but advice is cheap, it doesn't cost any money, so people are willing to give you the advice all the time. But I think it is harder. You can ignore all that advice, that is easier. You can ignore the advice of every passerby around you in your house, in your workplace, who wants to offer you free advice at the drop of the hat. It's easier to ignore, but it is very difficult to accept the right advice and take action according to that. So, because your mind would be telling you, kick up this job. Suppose your mentor says, looking at the whole scenario, I would recommend not to. Or you want to do your MBBS from US or from Jamaica, and your mentor will tell you, do it in India. You have made up your mind to go to place X. Now he's saying, consider place Y. A good mentor would always ask you to consider, suggest rather than force things on you. That is a good, when you're trying to build trustworthy relationship, notice for that. Is he forcing his opinion on you, or is he suggesting and letting you decide? Because at the end of the entire relationship, it's like a manual. Manual does not force you, it only gives you an advice, it shows you things. So mentor should be able to show you. But from your side, are you willing to take action, provided some part of your mind, some part of your heart says, what he's saying is right, I should consider that. Are you willing to take action? That is very, very important point. Otherwise, the whole relationship is meaningless, right? And last point, but not the least, is give time to nurture this relationship. Like any seed you plant and then you give it water, fertilizer, sunlight, and everything else, this relationship also will require nurturing. Nurturing means, as I said, in the time of communicating, spending some time so that he can get to know you, you can get to know him. Out of the blue, asking questions in that newspaper column, or these days to all these so-called social media influencers who haven't done much in their lives, about advice, that is not helpful. I mean, they are just going to tell you based on the words they are willing to spout. You should find a person who has been there, done it in his life, and can give you the right advice. Good manuals are always written by those who have used the product before you, isn't it? So friends, there you have it. These are the 5 points that I would like you to remember in developing a good mentoring relationship. To summarize, number 1, build foundation of trust. Number 2, have clear goals and expectation. And number three was have clear lines of communication, open and transparent communication. And number four was be ready to take action, be ready to be open to take advice as and when it comes. And of course, last but not the least, give time to nurture the relationship between mentor and mentee. Hope these steps are helpful to you. Let's be ready to dive into this mentoring journey. Good luck. Thank you.